Thanks very much, John. Thanks very much for giving me this opportunity. I remember actually one day in the gym saying to you that you should really give me the opportunity to talk to new members in the gym just as well as a sort of induction. And I never really thought that it would
No,
come to fruition so that I could actually get in touch with people. And
everyone has to learn themselves how to, like
I was like,
Ursula went
what,
through her rite of
like,
passage,
what
understand
to,
how.
what to say when a coach says, could you do any more of those? So anyway, we might touch on that a little bit. As John says, I am very interested, very passionate about learning about self-improvement, mindfulness, things that go on in the mind. I followed the money path first in my career, did business and things like that, and ended up in doing computers and cybersecurity. And yeah, it pays the bill, pays for wine, that kind of thing. But I think I remember back in 1993 or 94, my first book was Louise L. Hay about. I can't even remember the title of it, but in typical fashion, I bought the book and didn't read it. I did reflexology, Reiki, massage, sports massage, all of those kind of things since then. And then way back, I suppose, gosh, it's 20 years ago now, when I started off working in cybersecurity, I realized I was going to have to do presentations as part of my job. And so I got sent on a course, or I asked for a course, and pretty much was terrified going into the bloody thing. I didn't realize we had to create acetates, slides for an overhead projector, and got recorded on a video doing this thing. I didn't realize that was going to happen. And then we watched these things back. I didn't watch it, but got feedback on it. And then they said, okay, now you're going to take that feedback and you're going to do it again. And at lunchtime, I said, yeah, this is not happening. I'm out of here. Left, ran away completely and utterly from from the course, and brought the video with me. Brought my I was living. My flatmate at the time was an organizational psychologist, and he had done lots of presentation courses. And he watched the thing. I couldn't watch myself doing it again. So anyway, I was talking. Being in cybersecurity, the talk I was giving was about, changing your password. Tweak your password like a toothbrush. Change it so often and don't share it with anybody else. And so, but I spent the time looking down at the table like this and mumbling to myself effectively rather than actually looking at the audience or anything like that. So anyway, I learned a little bit from that time. It got me really interested in figuring out how to get control of my mind a little bit. So I started doing the NLP thing and got really, really passionate about it and tried to figure it out. So I'm going to break this session into two halves tonight. I'm going to teach you a little bit. Now, I know John and Ruth have done NLP before, so this will be a little bit of a revision for you guys. I want to break it down into a little bit of teaching you how your inner world, how your mind works, and then I'll talk a little bit about um, my own journey over the last while and some of the things. Not that interesting, and obviously it's not finished yet, but there's some interesting little mindset things that have happened. And I'm working with John on something at the moment as well in terms of my own transformation, which that really helps with. So anyway, our internal world. Obviously, we've got our five senses. We've got our seeing, we've got our eyes, we've got our ears, we've got our mouths, our nose, and our feelings. But those really are receptors or receivers of information that comes into our head. It's light, it's electronic impulses, it's waves, it's that kind of thing. It's not really what is out there at the moment. We don't really know what's out there. But what happens to all of that information is we create something inside our head. So if you can imagine, there's somebody, like, I don't know if anybody remembers the Beano, the numbskulls from many years ago. So it's got a little version of ourselves sitting inside our heads, looking at this cinema inside our heads, this massive big screen in front of us. And some of it projects actually a little bit outside of us, these big speakers, big surround sound speakers, sense and smells. So it's a full experience cinema, and that's where we create the internal representation of what's going on in our heads. So, and that is what's reality to us. Now, I just want to just try a little experiment with you there. Now, food obviously is another one of my passions as well, so this might work quite well. I want you to think about, if you just think about the pictures that you see in your head for a moment, and think about your favorite food, and just be aware of where that picture is. Where do you see the picture happening in your mind? Anybody give me a nod? Give me a nod or point to it, or do you see something? Are you aware of that food? Now think about a food that you don't like, and maybe it's got a little bit of blue mold on or something, or some bits of human hair or something like that. Where is that picture in your head? Is it in a different place or is it in the same place? Be aware that it's in a different place and maybe has some different qualities. Now, there's an interesting little trick that Brian Colbert, I heard him talking about on the radio, was somebody doesn't like vegetables. And if you move those pictures around, move the picture from the place of the picture you don't like, the food you don't like, into the place that you do like, suddenly you start liking that food, which is weird. But that's what's going on in our minds. We're creating these representations, and all of those inner senses have a certain quality about them. Um, Another example of it, probably closer to home for a lot of us, if you think about the last workout you had, what kind of thoughts come into your head about that? You know, are they good thoughts? Is it, do you see a full color picture and you're going, this is amazing? Do you see, is it a color? Is it black and white? Is it a moving picture or something? Think about the next workout you're going to have. Does that make you cheerful? Do you think, oh shit, what do I have to do? Do I have to do this? Because I know from my own experience, I was going through a process every morning. I was going to do this bloody workout. It's like I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Took a little bit of a change of a mindset to fix that. But we'll talk about that a little bit there. I want you to think about somebody who annoys you. Hopefully, it's not somebody that's on the screen in front of you at the minute, but if you want to just think about someone who annoys you for a moment and just be aware of their picture in your head. Now, I want you to change the quality of that picture. Imagine, just feel the annoyance first that you find of them. You know, this is somebody now that if you saw them walking down the street back in the old day when we could walk down the street and duck into shops and things like that, you could just hide in the shop from them. Somebody like that. Now, put a clown's face on them and fuzzy hair on them. And I don't know if anybody remembers bloomers, bloomers, a pair of bloomers, or just make them look really, really silly. And just be aware, do they still have the same impact when you think about them as they did? Do they still have that annoyance factor going on in your mind? I'm going to suggest that it doesn't, even though I'm seeing no yeses or nos or anything like that. I'm going to run with it anyway and see what happens anyway. So the quality, that's when we create that internal representation in our mind, all of the images, all of the qualities of those images, the sounds, the feelings, the tastes, all of those things mean something to us. And the position of the pictures, whether it's a moving picture or something. I have got a bit of a stationary fetish, like you can probably see behind me. I like books and things like that. And I found a book, a notebook in IKEA. It was just when I read something somewhere that plain paper is the way to go. Creativity doesn't get stifled by plain paper. I found these lovely A4 books, and they were really nice to write in IKEA one day. So I bought two of them. There's loads of them there. I was back again, none of them. They were all gone. Went on the internet, couldn't find them anywhere. I obsessed about those books for about 2 or 3 weeks, literally day in, day out, minute to minute. I was like, I've learned enough, people. What can I do about this? The picture of the book was there, just right in front of my face. I couldn't see anything else out of this eye in my mind's eye. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Just push it to the side a little bit. Gone. Other things to obsess about now. But anyway, the book, the obsession for that book was gone. So if you've got something, there's a useful technique. If you've got something that you can't go, if you really want to buy a pair of shoes or a handbag or something like that, and you just can't get it out of your mind, or you really want to eat chocolate cake or something like that, just be aware of where that picture is. Sometimes that works, but sometimes you just have to go for it. One of those things. Now, memories, when we create memories in our head, it's like a snapshot of all of the things that are going on in a particular moment in time. So it's a picture, it's the sounds that are happening, it's the smells or tastes that are happening at that moment in time, and it's the feelings. We take that and it's like we put it into a little bag and hang it on a line and keep that for reference to again. Now, the thing is, we can reference that anytime, and there has been research done, is all of the memories that we have ever had are in there somewhere. Our brain has recorded those somewhere in there. If you have bad memory, it's a bad recall rather than a bad memory. That's the thing that night. I would like to take a look at some of the memories. Some of the memories, if we have a memory that makes us a little bit, oh, can't believe that happened, or we ruminate over something like that. Take a look at the memory. Are you seeing that memory through your own eyes? Because it's likely you're experiencing it right over and over and over again as if you're there, because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's happening inside its head. It thinks that is now, and it thinks that's reality. To take the charge off that memory, what you can do is just imagine yourself slipping back and seeing yourself in that memory. You're disassociating from the memory itself. That's for bad memories. That's for memories that aren't really very pleasant to ruminate over. So you can come out of them a little bit. This is a technique I used actually when I separated from my partner a few years ago. Everywhere we went was together, and everywhere I went, I saw this person there with me. So everywhere I went afterwards, I disconnected from it, and gradually it took the emotional charge away from it. It was really, really powerful. Now, the other thing with those memories is there's some really good ones in there. So the problem is we don't look at those through the same way. We see ourselves in them. So it's like we've got it around the opposite way. We have to begin to see ourselves, or to see through our own eyes in them and feel those feelings again. And just as an example of it being reality, there was a couple of weeks ago, I was on another course at the moment. It was a Sunday night and it was moved to a Monday night and it was changed to the next week and stuff like that. I'm really annoyed because I was changing my plans to go with this thing, and I was out walking one morning and I started to think about, what excuse could I use to make them feel bad about changing this so many times. So I said, I know what, I've got a friend coming over. I could say there was nothing actually happening. I could just do it. It was no problem. But I said, I could say to him, okay, we were going to go wild camping that weekend, and I put it short because you moved it to Monday. And now you've changed to Sunday, and I have to stick with that. I was like, so I'm going to cancel the whole weekend. And the more I thought about what was going on in my head, the more annoyed I got. And I was like getting really, really angry with the person who was teaching the course for changing it, because my mind didn't know that that wasn't reality that was going on in my mind. It thought, this is happening. I've been really hard done by here. I have every right to get annoyed and pissed off with that. And then I caught myself. I was like, holy crap. It's amazing when that happens. Now, what I'd like you to do is going to do a little closed eye process for you at the moment. We're going to do a little thing called the magpie technique. It's from a book called The Happiness Habit by Brian Colbert. So I just invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Just and wander through your thoughts and your memory, just to bring to mind all the things you've achieved in your life, the times you did what it took to get the job done, the times that you're proud of, the times that you helped out a friend or that you dared to say hello to someone you're interested in. Look for all the good things that defined you and shaped you into the wonderful person you are today. Look for the times when you were happy and confident. Times you said, I've done that. I'm proud of that. I'm happy with that. And I'm delighted I've done it. Look for the things that sparkle, the good feelings, the good ideas, the good accomplishments, all your achievements and everything you have to be proud of or are loved for. This is the better you. This is who you can remind yourself to be in the future. Now use that anytime you need a little boost in the future. You can open your eyes and come back into the room now unless you've gone to sleep. How does that feel? Does that feel good? Get a nod or good, a thumbs up. Any everybody's working okay. It all works out. Nobody broken. No. Okay, so that's just an example of how things can go on your head. Go looking for those good memories. When you need a little bit of a boost, just give yourself a little bit of a kick. Remember when you were excited. Remember when you felt really good. Remember when you were in a party in a bar. Remember in the old days when we could go to parties and there was loads of people there. Remember those kind of things. Loads of memories. You'll all have them. Just go searching for them and feel them in the moment and see them through your own eyes at the moment. Now, this brings me on to the mind itself, the concept of the mind. We talked about the thought, how we think there for the moment. What is the mind? Is it the brain? If someone came along with a scalpel, hopefully they won't, but if they come along and cut into your brain, would they find the smell of a rose in there? Or would they find the taste of chocolate cake? It's very unlikely. So the mind is something a little bit different than that. So it's hard to really put a finger on what it is now. Is because is it us, or are we aware of are we aware of what's going on? What is it? there's various models of the minds. One of them, there's a conscious component to the mind. That's us. That's what we're aware of. That's where our logic is. That's us thinking, and people would say next or ruminating. And there's the other part, the unconscious part. Now, up until the age of 6 or 7 years old, we were all little unconscious minds. And at that point, our conscious mind started to form. So our unconscious mind remains at that age. And that unconscious mind, if you think about the metaphor of a huge cruise liner, your conscious mind is the captain of that ship. The unconscious mind is the part, all of the other crew members, all of the bits that look after the engine, all of the parts, moving parts of the engine, it looks after all of that. So that's a 6-year-old in charge of all of the things in your body, keeping your heart beating, keeping you breathing, keeping you doing all of those things. So it's a 6 years old and it has control of everything. The thing about it is it needs instructions and it wants instructions. Do we give it them or do we give it free rein to do whatever it wants to do itself? If we give it free rein, you could think of, yes, it's a 6-year-old, but there's another metaphor for it. It's called the monkey mind. So if you can imagine a monkey in your in your mind somehow controlling everything around you, controlling everything, but it's not just a monkey. It's a monkey tied to a post that's trying to get away from. It's probably had a little bit of alcohol to drink, so it's jumping up and down and chattering all the time, and it's controlling everything in your body. So that's what's has control of your unconscious mind, which is control of the beliefs you have, the values, the thoughts you have about yourself. And we we're not aware of what it's doing on a day-to-day basis. The thing is about it, the unconscious mind has a positive intention for everything. It thinks it's doing a good job. It thinks it's keeping us safe. We're evolved um, to see fear, be afraid of things, to see danger everywhere. Because on the savannah or in the forest, something rattling in the bushes could have been a tiger. It could have killed us. The people who were afraid are the people who evolved. And so we normally and automatically find that fear and find the bad things and things. It's been estimated that, and by through research, I can never remember people who did the research or wrote the books or anything, and I know that's important to some people. So apologies for that. But for every 5 thoughts, for every one negative thought, it takes 5 positive thoughts to counter that. And I know if you're in a relationship as well, this study was done on a relationship. For every one bad thing that happens in a relationship, 5 good things need to happen to like slate clean on that one. It's an interesting one to think about there now. We'll talk a little bit more about that concept of the evolution of the brain. I want to talk about a thought itself, not cellular level. In the brain, we've got brain cells, obviously, most of us anyway, and they're little things. And a thought is the thing that connects one of those brain cells to another at a very basic level. Obviously, there's a whole load of things going on there, but if you think about it, the thought is connecting one of those things to the other. Now, in your brain isn't that clever. It's not that smart at all. All it needs is an instruction of which direction to go in. So if you think about it, okay, go that way. There's the thought. And this is where gratitude in the morning and these powerful things. If you get up in the morning, say, I have to go to work, and look for the negative things, your brain goes, oh, okay, 6 years old, monkey mind, good off, finds the negative things that you want. You've given it an instruction. Remember, it wants orders. You've given it an instruction. Go and find negative things. That's why gratitude journals and things like that are so important in the morning. So, okay, you wake up. Oh, what am I grateful for? What good things are going to happen today? Your brain goes, okay, look for the good things, look for the positive things. Really is that simple. You just tell it the direction you want to go in for the day. Now, so you've got that direction. You've got a pathway created. And a good metaphor for this, if you think of a hill covered in nice fresh snow, and you're at the top of that hill and you've got a sled, and you're going to have a thought. Thought is the path of that sled down the hill. So you have that thought. Clear snow, it can go anywhere. The thought pathway can go anywhere. But once that pathway is there, you go back up to the top of the hill again. The easiest way to go down that hill is through that path again. And the more times you go down that path, the more times you have that thought, the stronger that pathway becomes in your mind. So if you imagine lots and lots of thoughts coming together and creating lots and lots of pathways, and you think about them, you go the same way on them all the time, you get what we call as a mindset. The mind has that thought. We think about it, and it's the easiest route for it to go. Our mind creates little programs. That's how we learn. It doesn't want to think the same thing over and over again. It says, okay, I know how to do that. I'm going to do that now. I'll go off and do that. Puts it down into your unconscious mind. And you don't have to think about it again. That's why when you open one door, you can open every other door. That's called a generalization. It's an example of it now. So that's what we have mindset. Now, it depends on until we were 6 years old, the things that people said to us, people in authority, our parents, our priests, our teachers, our doctors, our older people, we took on their beliefs and values and we created our own little mindset from all of that information. And that's important when you start to think about getting rid of some of the unhelpful beliefs and values that you have in your mind. Anyway, we'll talk about a little bit about growth mindset and things in a while. Does this make sense to everybody, or does it sound like I'm okay? It does sound like I'm talking shite. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So fear. We've evolved into fear. There's another model of the brain, which is called the triune brain. And there's three parts to it. The first part is the reptilian brain. That's the first part of it. That's the instinctual part of it. The second part of it is the mammalian brain. That is generally which the parts that deals with emotions and things like that. And then there's the human brain, and that's the part that deals with logic and reasoning. Now, John was talking a little bit in his email today. I do read these things, by the way, in his email today about conspiracy theories. And there's this, I think it's the mother of all conspiracy theories, where the human race is controlled by this master race of reptilian beings who eat children and are pedophiles and have all this strange stuff going on. I think whoever came up with that particular conspiracy theory in the first place mistook the little bit of information they were getting from wherever they were getting from it. Because I think if you think about it, we are actually controlled by a reptilian race, but it's inside our own heads. It's the reptilian part of our own brain. The reptilian part of our brain deals with instinct, deals with 5X, it deals with fight, flight, freeze, feed, fornicate. I actually gave a talk about that to Facebook, big crowd in a room, globally. And I was like, I went through the first four, and I was like, oh, am I allowed to curse? Fuck. Because these things work. Anyway, sorry for cursing on your. I should have warned you people about that, but I'm like, there's a potential for me to curse on it. Anyway, so we are ruled by lizards, going around, ruled by this reptilian brain. We're going around potentially not really awake, but instinct is driving us. We're reacting to the world around us, and we're in this perpetual state of low level stress because of that. We're always looking for the danger around us, and that danger these days is not coming from a tiger that's going to attack. Although you people go into the zoo, you never know what's going to happen there. You know, the cages might have rusted. It could happen. Very careful there now when you're there, something to watch out for. Anyway, so what we're looking at these days is the little micro stressors, the flashing light on your mobile phone. That's like, what that could be bad. That could be something bad. So we're living in this constant state of fear, and we want to run away from it or fight with people, and we react to somebody's anger, somebody's outburst, or something like that. Or here's a good example of it. When you're driving, what happens when you get into a car? Your personal space expands to fill that car around you. And if somebody comes along and cuts you up on a junction or something like that, it really, really gets annoying. But I remember one morning when I was learning NLP that somebody did that. I was saying, I have to queue. I have to be nice, and I have to stay in the queue. And somebody else come along in the inside lane and cut off in front of me. I started to get really angry, really, really angry about it. And I was like, okay, this is when self-awareness was coming in. I'm sitting here, this is going to ruin my day. It's going to set me off for to be angry and snap the head off someone when I go into the office in the morning. And that person there that just did that knows nothing about it. Reminds me of the thing that, I don't know, it was either Gandhi or the Dalai Lama. Somebody important somewhere said once that being angry with someone is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. There's two ways of thinking that. It's like, don't be angry, don't take the poison, or the other way of looking at it is make sure you give the poison to the other person. It depends on your mindset, really. But anyway, the way to get control of that idea, that automatic thing is mindfulness. Mindfulness has this whole idea that it's a meditation thing. It's woo woo, it's hokey, it's that kind of stuff. But if you call it self-awareness, it's become aware in the moment of what's going on in your mind and allow you just take a breath and pause. Is this a necessary reaction? Is there something to be afraid of here? What's this going to do for me? Just give yourself time for the human brain to get control over the lizard brain or the emotional part, the mammalian brain. Just give yourself a moment before you react, lash out, and tear someone's head off, just so that you can respond in a more calm way. That's for mindfulness, what I mean for mindfulness there. So that's really good. Now, I want to talk about something. Voices in your head. Anybody here have voices in your head? No? No? A few people have voices in their head. Ursula, you're broken. Sorry. Voices in our head. Are they nice to us? Here's an example. If you were to write down all of the critical things that voice says at you in your head, all the times it puts you down, and all the times that it says nasty things to you, and you got a list of those, and you would pick this list off, and you were going to say that all of those things to someone you love, would you do it? Would you feel comfortable doing it? Yet we're doing it to ourselves all the time. We're putting ourselves down. And the reason we're doing that is because we've taken on these beliefs and values and listened to things from other people and generalized these thoughts into something that's going on. And we have allowed a monkey, quite an intelligent monkey, as it turns out, to take these thoughts and create a new narrative in our mind, or the voice in our head, which puts you down all the time. But it has a positive intention. It generally wants to keep us comfortable and safe and not allow us to go out of our comfort zone and not allow us to grow anymore, because that could be dangerous. That's the unknown. What are you going to do? So anyway, that's a good thing. Now, the best thing we can do is it's either a friend or an enemy for you. Best thing we can do, there's a little mantra that Jay Shetty, I remember one author, Jay Shetty said in his book, it's like, the voice in my head is my friend. The voice in my head, you say it inside your head. You don't walk around saying the voice in my head is my friend, because it might not go down so well when you go back out on the streets again. But anyway, over and over again, say that to yourself. It's there to keep us safe, and it become your friend. You have an inner critic. It generally criticizes you for doing that's not good enough. That's stupid. Look at you. You're too fat for that clothes. You shouldn't be going into that shop. These are the things that it says. The ways of dealing with that inner critic are, you could say, just stop. If you think back to the patterns, the thought patterns. So you're dealing with a mindset here. So you've created this pathway, and it's the easiest pathway. What you need what to do is create some sort of a pattern interrupt to stop that sled going down the hill, so that it has to create a new thought. There's a good one that Brian Colbert always uses. It's a mantra. It's really, really powerful. It's very secret. John will know it, and Bruce will know it. And starts with, shut the fuck up, to the voice in your head. Now, don't go all Irish on it when you're saying it. This really works. Don't go all Irish on it, saying shut the fuck up, you fucking idiot, because that won't work. That won't work quite so well. But anyway, that's another way of doing it. So, or you can say, if it's saying something negative to you, what? And that has the effect of deleting everything it said, and then it'll have to go and say something else. And you could say thank you to it. You could be very polite to it. Thank you for that. I don't need that advice anymore. This is what I want to do. And you can have a whole other show of talking to yourself inside your head and start going mad altogether. But anyway, patterns that you took, they took a while to form. They'll take a little while to break them, but systematically you can start to clip them apart and start becoming friends with the voice in your head. Because at the moment, generally, if we're running around in an unawakened state, we're running around letting this voice control ourselves, put us down, create a fixed mindset in a lot of times, where it doesn't allow us to grow, it doesn't allow us to take risks, it doesn't allow us to do the things that we want to achieve the goals that we want to do. It doesn't allow us to take the risk of doing a 12-week transformation because you won't do that. That's not going to happen. Something I didn't mention was the filters that we have in our head because of all of those beliefs and all of those values and all of the things you've learned over time and all of those thought patterns you have, there are certain filters that happen in your mind when someone says something to you. They say something, your mind makes sense of it in a different way. And here's an example of it. A very good, very close and dear friend of mine, and we all always laugh at it. So I was going to buy a bicycle. I had no intention of ever cycling this bicycle because in my mind's eye, I thought I would look like a silverback gorilla on a bicycle, and there was no way I was going to do that. There was no way I was going outside on a bicycle, not until I'd lost weight. That's one of those things. Anyway, so going to buy this bicycle, normal road bike, look really good, just expensive enough just to make me feel good about myself, so that it'll look good sitting out in the back shed, And he said, the wheels on that bike are very thin. What I heard was, you're too fat for that bicycle. The wheels won't be able to support you. You should go for thicker wheels. What he meant was, you could get caught in a Lewis track, something like that. There's an example of a filter in action. We have a good laugh about that since, and it's grown in proportion, and it causes a lot of fun. You can believe. The last comment was, "You fat blubbery bitch, you are too fat to ever ride a bicycle." Luckily, we're good friends. Anyway, we talked about a little bit about stress. We talked about, we're in this constant state of fight or flight at the moment. We're constantly living with micro stressors, people saying things to us. Did they mean that? Did they just call me fat? Did they do this? Did they do that? And we're constantly listening to the voice in our heads. We're constantly dealing with stress, and constantly pushing down negative emotions. Like in Ireland, we weren't really allowed growing up to express emotions. Certainly the men versions of us, but I think the same happened to, from talking to a lot of my female friends, the same happened to us. We weren't allowed to express our emotions, so we're all pushed down. So if you imagine we got this bottle when we started off in life, it's a big bottle. Into that bottle, we put the stresses, the little micro stressors, the big stresses, the anger that we didn't do anything with, all the times that we felt something bad, and we fill this bottle up and up and up. Very quickly, it'll come to the top, and somebody will say a small little thing, and it'll just explode. We'll overreact because our bottle was just too full. Now, that's just a metaphor for stress in our lives if we don't deal with the stress. My own personal story was, it got to the stage where I sit and looking at a computer screen trying to write a document for a week, literally sat looking at this computer screen doing nothing. I couldn't do anything. I'll talk a little bit on that in a moment. The things to empty that bottle are self-care. Um, or get yourself out of the fight or flight response. And John has often talked about the importance of breathing. I remember asking Ruth one morning in the gym, why is breathing important? Why do we have to do that? Anyway, they misunderstood me as usual. So anyway, box breathing, very good way of getting us out of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, and putting us into the rest and digest. Eating is a good way of getting it in there, but that's probably not a good thing to do. Breathing is probably better for us. So the box breathing technique that we all know about, and there's another one that I heard about just yesterday. If you take 2 quick breaths in and 1 long breath out, another example of it. And that one will get you into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and the calm states. That's a good fix in the moment, but the bottle will still be full. So we have to do something to empty the bottle. It's a metaphor. No real bottle in there. It's a metaphor, but with me. So what we do is the breathing gets us out of the response, and in that moment in time, we do some self-care things. We go for a massage, we go for a walk in nature, we do exercise. Would you believe exercise is actually good for us? Who knew? We do exercise. We listen to music. We experience love in whatever way or form you want to experience love. You feel it or make it, whatever. Anyway, one of those things. Or we can experience magic moments, what I call magic moments in life. And just the little moments in life where you smell the coffee when you open it, and you see the flowers and you see the butterflies, you see nature around you rather than being in your head. You just experience all of the little tiny micro magic moments that happen during the day. You enjoy washing the dishes because you enjoy the smell of the fairy liquid, whatever you use, or you enjoy in the shower in the morning the expensive, lovely, smelly, bubble bathy things that you have there, rather than thinking about what's going to go on in the day, and just enjoy those magic moments. I don't know about anybody else, but when I grew up, it was in a poor area of Fermanagh, rural Ireland. My folks weren't that well to do, but there was this thing, this idea that there was the good cutlery and there was the good cups. And these only came out when visitors were coming, and they had to be very important visitors, like a priest or something like that, that we could show the good cups and saucers and stuff. But another magic moment, which I think is really good, is taking out the good cutlery and the good plates and the good and setting the dinner table for yourself and making it an occasion for dinner in the evening, and setting a candle just to really enjoy the experience rather than sitting eating it in front of an Xbox set mindlessly, not enjoying what you're doing. Really, really helps. Now, the problem is some of us can go a little bit too far with that, because obviously there'd be a glass of wine and we have the nice feed, and then the glass of wine is empty and you keep filling it up, and then you end up at 5 o'clock in the morning, the bar doesn't close, the kitchen table, so we have to control those kind of things in our in our lives as well. So too much of a good thing. The danger is in the dose, is effectively what's going on. So we need to be mindful of these things. That's all I'm saying there about that one. But anyway, anybody any questions on all of that wonderful stuff? We'll stop for questions at the end. So my own journey, my own mindset. It's interesting, John, talking about self-esteem. Self-esteem wouldn't have been a big factor. I wouldn't have a high self-esteem of myself throughout my life either, um, for very different reasons to John. Because in my beliefs, I am a fat person. That's what the belief I had. So I saw my world through that lens. So I've had a few moments of revelation just after last year, when I sat looking at a computer screen and realized I can't do this. Took a sabbatical from work, took some time to give myself some self-care and some time out, and built myself up. Got loads of therapists working for me. Uh, three at least, lots, and massage therapists, and loads of self-care. And then I realized one day, I had put on a stone, nearly a stone and a half at this point. I said, what is going on here? I'm doing all the things right. I'm going to all of these therapists. It's not working for me. They're not fixing me. That was at the moment I heard somebody's voice in my head. You know what you need? You need a good kick in the arse. That's Sometimes we need to be compassionate with ourselves, but sometimes we need a little bit of fierce compassion as well. We need to give ourselves that wake up call and say, okay, do you know what? I'm trained as a coach, I'm trained as a mentor. Why am I going to all of these people? What is going on with me? Why am I not fixing this for myself? And I just tuned into myself, to my thought process. And another thing that I didn't really talk about, but is a metaphor. Your conscious mind has to communicate with your unconscious mind in pictures, and metaphors and visualization are good ways of doing that. I said, what is going on? I had created, it felt like everything I'd learned to date was piling up behind me. That's what the feeling was. And I looked in and saw this picture of this tidal wave of stuff coming behind me, and me standing in front, and this invisible wall in front of me. That is what I had created in my mind. I couldn't really it was an invisible wall, but I couldn't really see what was on the other side. It was a bit cloudy because it was a really thick invisible wall, and you wouldn't be able to see through that. You know? Anyway, so that was the metaphor I had in my mind. And I said to me, okay, I can change this metaphor, because I knew how to do it. So I punched some holes in it and I saw things through it. And I was like, do you know what I need to do? I need to take control of my own mind, because that is what I would be telling other people. I would be showing them how to do that. I need to do this myself. I need to take control of the mind instead of going to all of these therapists, some of whom I was expecting to wave some sort of magical wand at a metaphysical block that I had in my head and fix that for me. It wasn't happening. As soon as I did that, as soon as I made that decision to change my mindset and take control of what was going on in my mind, I started to see things, not not imaginary things or anything like that, actual things. I saw myself getting up and going downstairs like a miserable, yeah, very miserable in the morning, going down saying to poor Keen, oh yeah, no, shit, horrible. And then thinking about doing press ups. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. The voice in my mind was telling me these things. The exercise wasn't good. I really don't like that. So I said, okay, what would you do here? What would the press ups? Let's think about the press ups. Just look at that one thing. So I started to play, the Rocky theme tune music, really motivate myself. And I saw myself getting stronger. So I'm down there doing the push-ups, pushed it out and made it a really vivid, colorful image, a little bit of sparkles in there as well, a little bit of glitter, just to suit the mood. That really motivated me. And I was down there and I was able to do the press-ups and I started looking forward to them. And I started being aware of the mood I was coming down. And I started to come down and okay, I can change this. I can go and be in a good mood. I needed a little kickstart with that, so I took some pre-workout the first couple of mornings, and it really gave me a nice little buzz starting off. But then I didn't need it after that. So anyway, Keane probably had no idea what was going on at that point in time. But anyway, so that was the first thing that started to happen, and I started looking at my life, and I said, okay, there's actually there's synchronicities happen. I had started thinking, okay, I told myself when I was coming up to my 40s, up to my 40th birthday, I'm going to get into really good shape for my 40s. It's going to be in the best shape I can be in. Didn't manage it for my 40th birthday. So then I said, I'm going to do it in my 40s. Yeah. 3 months' time, I'm going to be 50. Yeah. So I said to myself, okay, if I still continue to do the same things I'm doing in the same way that I'm doing now and have the same thoughts about what I'm doing, I'll be doing the same thing when in 10 years' time, when I'm 60, and I'll have achieved nothing. Thankfully, then John came along with his motivation talk one evening, and it just hit the spot right away. It was like, what will you be doing in 10 years' time? It's just like, whoa, do I really want to be doing the same thing? So I started, like, okay, I was starting to think about, how to change that. And I could change my behavior. I could change my attitude to the exercise, or I could change, my ability to get stronger at it. I could do all those things. I could start eating differently, but it wouldn't really have. I could go on another diet. I could have tried a new diet approach. I could have tried all of these things. Tried being the opposite word because I knew none of them would work. Because I needed to do something significant. I needed to start seeing myself as the person I wanted to be. I needed to change who I saw myself as, and I needed to change my identity. And as I slipped forward into the future, because that's possible in your mind as well, who knew? I slipped forward, saw myself, almost perfect body for me, and I was like, okay, that's good enough. I'll be happy with that. What do I do? What do I have to do to get here? What are my habits? Because I had to change my mindset. I was like, I can't go on a diet because I'm going to be eating this way at the new version of me. I have to eat that way. I have to see this as a lifestyle change. I have to figure out what that perfect version of me is doing on a day-to-day basis. And that has to become how I live my life now. And that was overwhelming. I was like, holy shit, I can't do any of that. I don't believe I can do that. There you go. That slipped in. Then, okay, so what do I do here? It's too big. It's too huge to actually cope with. I just sit back in the chair and stare into space for the day. Or I could take charge of it. I have three books. I have Atomic Habits of Tiny Habits. I have another book on habits as well, sitting on a shelf. I couldn't find two of them. I managed to find one of them after I bought it again on Kindle. The idea of it. So tiny habits, atomic habits. What are the tiniest, smallest things that I can do now for the next 2 or 3 weeks to change into that version of me? And it turns out one of them was one press up. I give myself the goal of one press up a day. Now, if you're down there doing one press up, you won't give up. You'll do more than one press up. So I'm currently at 10, which is great for me, giving them an extra stone. It's harder this year than it was last year. Uh, meditate. I've been telling myself to meditate since 1994. I haven't managed it. I'm currently on day 46 of meditating just for 10 minutes a day using a Headspace app or Insight Timer doing something. Drink 6 glasses of water. Sorry, 6 glasses of water. 6 glasses of water a day. There's just 500 ml glasses throughout the day. That's easy. Drink a glass of water. Small thing. Doesn't say don't drink 3 liters of water a day because that's huge. It's too big. But 6 glasses of water. And I use an app to tick these things off. And the power of a little green dot when you achieve all of these things, go for a walk, 8,000 steps, not 10,000, because 10,000 is the biggest, very big number. 8,000, that's doable. I can do it, 8,000. I'm averaging around 15, 16, 17,000 a day because I'm loving it. Because also I'm listening to a podcast every day. Because I had this other metaphor in my mind where I was comparing myself to an old battery. Yeah, an old battery. You charge it up, get it all excited, and it'll be able to do things, and then suddenly it just loses its charge. And in the fixed mindset that I had before, I said, okay, that's what I'm like. I'm like an old battery or dynamo. We charge it up and it just loses its charge. Okay, what do I do to keep the charge in that battery in my mind? One of them was connecting to the energy or the notion, the mindset of the fit person, and that was to listen to podcasts every day, to listen to um, something that's going to keep me in that mindset. And that kept that battery charged every day for me. And it was when I was out doing the walk, it morphed into something, trying to find something to catch John out when I was doing the interview questioning with him. Didn't manage to do it though, but it was an admirable goal, I thought. Anyway, so I'm doing that every day now as well. And the other big thing that I had to get control of was this is reasonable, going up the stairs in the evening is very hard work when you're going to bed. So you need to carb load a little bit before you start going up the stairs. So there's 2 or 3 chocolate biscuits just had to go into the mouth, or a bar of chocolate or something. Slice of bread with peanut butter and jam. Yeah. One of those things had to go into because carb loading before going upstairs, very difficult. So anyway, cravings in the evening, I had to figure out a way to do that, to get rid of that. So, and it turns out it was as simple as, okay, read 10 pages in a book. Because again, I'm not going to stop at 10 and study something, and and find find a connection to my passion again, because I lost that some time ago. I I got stuck in a I suppose looking back on it, it's called a midlife crisis, but I wasn't really willing to admit that I was middle-aged at that point in time, so it couldn't be a middle-aged crisis. I didn't know what it was, but a friend says to me, "That's an existential angst," and I said, "Yeah, that sounds pretty much it." Yeah, I didn't know what my purpose was, and I stopped learning and stopped doing anything because I couldn't attach it to who I was. Another word for it is ennui. I didn't have a purpose anymore, but I found that, and learning and sharing that information is what I want to do now. It's funny the little synchronicities that happen in your life at the moment. Because I said I'd taken 100% responsibility for what was going on in my mind. That's kind of difficult to do, but I come across another thing called Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian system of healing. It's an ancient thing, which says you take 100% responsibility for what's going on in your life, and that's because it's all inside your head. Things happen, and we interpret them. Everybody we have met, there's a little version of that person inside us, inside our head, a little tiny part of that is part of us. That's where the voices come from. See? These little parts in our minds. And Ho'oponopono, the precept is I take responsibility for all of those thoughts about people. So as soon as a negative thought comes up, and again, it's like clipping, it's like eating an elephant bit by bit, it's clipping away at this. I, if a negative thought comes up, I clip it away, and it's a little mantra you use. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to myself and that person inside for having that negative thought. Please forgive me. Asking myself for forgiveness and that person for forgiveness. Thank you. Gratefully accept that forgiveness, gratitude. And I love you, because we don't say that to ourselves and we don't say it to ourselves. And that little mantra is really, really strong. There's loads of reasons why it's really strong, but it's really working, and it's allowing me to take responsibility for the negative thoughts. And I dare you to try it. Just give it a go. Even though Some of my friends say, well, yeah, that will never work for me. That's the biggest danger in life. That'll never work for me. Meditation doesn't work for me. Yeah, I'm good. Challenge yourself when you find yourself saying that to yourself. So anyway, I have very little more to say, which is strange. But sometimes I have this idea. Okay, I'm taking 100% responsibility for what's going on in my life, but I'm not good at everything. So sometimes you need expert help, and that's where somebody like John or Ruth comes in to help me keep on track with exercise and a little transformation program that I'm undergoing to get that perfect body before. Now I've told everybody I have to. That is all I have to say at the moment. The other things I have written down here saying, I am not my thoughts. I am not my feelings. I am not my body. I am not. Actually, you can't say that. You can't say I'm not, because the unconscious mind doesn't understand the negative. In order to process a negative, you have to think the thing first. So anyway, I'm going to change that. I am that lean person. I am more than my feelings. I am more than my thoughts. And it came when my friend who stayed with me last week sent me some videos of us probably a little bit more tipsy than we would expect to be on a normal night. So sent me some of those videos. I was looking at them going like, yeah, still work to do on that transformation. Yep. Previously, I'm going to order a Chinese. I'm so upset looking at those pictures. So it's a different type of mindset now. Taking responsibility and seeing yourself as the person you want to be, being that person, is really powerful. I can't believe I spoke for so long. I have nothing more to say.
Thank you, Sean. That was brilliant.
Did you all enjoy
Yeah,
that? Do you have any
I enjoyed it.
questions?
Yeah, enjoyed it
That's
thoroughly.
really good, Sean. Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and
You're
it's
very
really
welcome.
yeah, for me just to be able to sit back and kind of listen and it was very enjoyable. I love some of your stories and metaphors as well. Very
I didn't actually tell you one about my mother. There was something about worrying. I told her I tell people this. My mother, you know, worrying is one of those patterns that we get. For a woman, she's lots of stories about her. And she knows, though. I tell her, I'm not going behind her back, and I respect her deeply. But anyway, worrying, she's what we call an Olympic level worrier. I remember telling her one day, it was a Sunday, and I had gone out fishing in Docky Harbour or whatever in a boat. My mother's terrified of flying. She's terrified of boats. She's terrified of all of these things. She's perfectly designed to be protected from tigers. But she worries about absolutely everything. She will automatically go, what's the worst thing that could happen here? So I told her this, that I was out on a boat yesterday fishing. She's like, oh my God. And she started worrying about what could have happened, because there's an example of how the unconscious mind works. No idea of when the thing happened. Anyway, that was the story I missed. Very valid. She hates that I tell people that.
good.
Okay, that's it. That's actually all I have to say.
Quick question: what are your favorite podcasts to listen to? I'm becoming an obsessed about podcasts now as well when I walk.
Clearly, obviously, the SF Fitness one is a big one to listen to.
Which one? Oh, the SF
Fit-
Fitness one. Oh, well, obviously, yeah. But
Obviously,
when you've listened to that 10 times, like
yeah, there's more. Owen Fitzpatrick's is very good. Obviously, that's a good one. I listened to Brian Keene's the fitness mindset because it's quite good. What other ones am I listening to? Rangan Chatterjee's is a really, really good podcast at the moment. He talks a little bit too much about himself in it, but you can get past that. Who else? The Huberman Lab. John introduced me to this guy. Very, very scientific, but it really gives you an insight into how things go on in your body. I really find that fascinating. I mean, probably the easiest way instead of trying to remember is actually to look at my phone and see what are in it. When you, yeah. Mind Body Masters is one I've discovered recently. I'm an information junkie. I'm logged on. subscribe to far too many podcasts. Only listen to a few of them. The Mindset Mentor is quite good. Rob Dial. Muscle for Life. That's a guy's gorgeous. The Doctor's Kitchen. I listen to that one sometimes.
That's loads, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is loads. Yeah, there's a few others as well, but they're not showing it for me. But I can share them.
Yeah, do send them all. I'll post them all up and I'll listen and email. So
Yeah, there's some really good ones. I'm picking out the ones about health and fitness and mindset led sort of things. But there's
even the ones on wine, Sean, the ones you listen to on wine as well, we'd be happy to.
I don't need any podcasts for that.
You're already an expert.
Yeah, an expert level. I could slur into a podcast for a whole evening on that. Okay. Any other questions? Challenges?
Challenges for you? You're already
no. So try to catch me out on something. I'm open for that. I'm game for that. Because I'm not an expert in everything, so I don't know. So I don't know. All good.
All good.
Thank you very much, Sean.
You're all very welcome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I will see, I don't know, maybe if I'll see some of you in the morning at 7 o'clock. I don't know.
Nope. Thanks.
Let's see, King. Have a lovely evening, folks. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. That was